Let's start today with something we don't talk about enough in the health world. Flares happen, illness happens. Even when you're doing everything right, even when you're consistent, even when you care deeply about your health, if you live with an autoimmune disease or chronic illness or just a very real human body, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about how to take care of yourself during a flare or an illness without panic, without judgment, and without throwing away all of your healthy habits out the window. Because healing isn't about avoiding hard days. It's about knowing how to support your body when those hard days show up.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
This is Glucose, Grit, and Grace, Flare Day and Sick Day edition. Hi, ladies.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Good.
Excited about today's topic.
I think I read a stat one time that there's 450,000 people in the US alone that deal with thyroid disease. And that's just like Hashimoto's. So that's the autoimmune part of thyroid disease. And that's just one of the autoimmune diseases that we deal with today. So I think that a lot of women who are going through the frustration of having days where they're just not feeling well or they have no energy, they can't figure out what's wrong. And this might even show up during menopause because all your hormones change and everything too. So we don't understand what's happening to our body and we think that our body is breaking. Here's the thing, our body is not breaking, but it is giving us a lot of signals, right? And that's what we help our clients learn is how to hear some of those signals that our body gives us.
For sure.
So I wanted to start today by sharing a little bit about my autoimmune story. And it's probably similar to a lot of stories that you who are listening have been through before. Let's see, I was in my early 30s, so 25 years ago. I was just having those days where you just couldn't move. It felt like you're walking through mud. It feels like you don't have energy. You wake up tired. And that's the most frustrating thing, I think, about having autoimmune disease is just that you're so tired all the time. So I went to the doctor. I really had to be an advocate for myself because they would run blood tests. They're like, oh, your blood work's fine. You're fine, implying that it's all in my head, right? We've talked about some of this stuff before. And I finally got my diagnosis where they did an ultrasound of my thyroid. They found some nodules, which is one of the biggest symptoms of Hashimoto's as you get these nodules on your thyroid and it slows your thyroid down. So your thyroid isn't working well. And then they said, yep, you have Hashimoto's. Here's a brochure. And they sent me out of the office. So I don't know, no counseling, no
really,
no ideas. Now, granted, it was 25 years ago, so I'm hoping things have changed. I know.
I hope. My goodness.
So I had to learn to be my own advocate and to figure it out by myself. And thankfully, there's a lot of people in the autoimmune disease world that share a lot of their knowledge and information. And so I would dive into something and try things and keep the things that worked and dive into something else. So eventually I got the mindset that I thought that losing weight would help. So we've talked about this before. You shots and pills to try to lose weight, and then you get off of them and then you gain weight and then you try it again and you don't eat. And we know now, right, that what we know about autoimmune or about blood sugar stabilization, that ends up hurting your body in the long run. So in my quest to get healthy, I actually started making things worse because my body couldn't trust. what I was doing for it, right? I was under fueling, over exercising, and everything was just chaos in
And
my
still not feeling better, probably.
and still not feeling better. Even when I was, lost 30 pounds doing the shots, I still didn't feel better. I was
Right.
probably more tired because I
Yeah.
wasn't eating well.
Right.
But then when I finally found this power of balancing my metabolism with PFC3 and the 100 days of 1%, that changed everything for me. And as I was preparing to talk to you guys about this today, I was thinking about how different my life is now a year and a half later, and even how quickly things changed for me. In a year and a half, have probably had about maybe 3 flares. And those flares, they may have lasted a few days, but they were generally around the holidays when I wasn't eating well and I was demanding more of my body and I wasn't sleeping well. So I can now look at my life, and when I have a flare, I can look and say, oh, I understand why this is happening because of the choices that I'm making for my 6 spinning plates of health.
Right.
And
Isn't knowledge
so,
wonderful?
yeah, so I have fewer flares, I have better sleep, I have fewer symptoms. I would even, knock on wood, almost say that I'm in remission from it because I have felt so good for so long.
Isn't that an awesome feeling?
It really
That's
is.
so
Over the holidays,
exciting.
I had a couple of flares just because it was a lot. It's a lot of work to be in the kitchen all day cooking for everybody.
Right.
We're not eating well, but
Right.
I was able to heal from those pretty quickly. So that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because of all the things that I have tried doing PFC3 and the 100 days of 1% and paying attention to the 6 spinning plates has been the thing that has changed everything for me. And I really wanted to share that today. So really the bottom line is this: flares and illness, they happen to everybody. And while I'm talking today, even if you don't have an autoimmune disease, if you have a metabolic dysfunction, if you're in menopause, these tips will help you. And even if you have a sick day, if you have the flu or you get COVID again, or just have a cold, the things that we're talking about today will help you. So even though I'm saying flares, remember that it's basically when your body is not feeling well. That's kind of what I mean by that. So these flares, they happen. It's part of living, but they don't have to define you, and they don't have to derail you.
I love that. So, Alane, can you, because I hear the word flare, and I know several people who have autoimmune diseases. What do you actually mean when you say flare? How does one know that they're having it? What are the symptoms? Could you break that down a little bit?
That's a really good question, because those of us who are in the autoimmune world, we know that, right? And so it's important to help people understand what that looks like. I used to say it was a crash because that's what it felt like, is that everything in my body just hit a wall and stopped.
Can't imagine.
But whenever I would say I had a crash the other day, people would think I got in a car accident. So I got in with everybody else and call it a flare. But basically what a flare is when your body, the best way to explain it is, one, it feels like you're walking through mud and that you need to run, but you can't. And then the other thing is, everything that is ever hurt or you've ever injured in your body hurts. And this happens because you've either eaten something that has caused extra inflammation in your body, or maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, or something else has happened to trigger this. And it's usually caused by extra inflammation. So when I have a flare, I'm very exhausted. Most people are. That defines a flare, is that you even walking down the street makes you feel like you've run a marathon. It's that kind of, when people say, when I used to try to explain to doctors, exercising makes me tired. And they're like, well, of course it does. It uses energy in your body. And no, it makes me feel like I have the flu. I ran a marathon and I only walked 4 blocks. So everything is exaggerated. So all of your pain, all of your frustrations, all of your emotions is exaggerated, and your body can do nothing but just survive.
Wow.
It
And
just
people function.
It's really hard.
Wow.
It's really hard. And that's why autoimmune diseases and illness and chronic pain and menopause and all of that stuff are so frustrating, is because you feel like you're never going to get on top of it. Right.
It just seems so emotional, like a roller coaster when that happens.
It
So
really is.
what emotions tend to come up first when your body starts acting up or feeling like it's in a flare?
I'm going to answer this two ways: before PFC3 and after, because
Okay.
you do so much mindset work in the 100
Yes.
days of 1%. And mindset is one of the things that will make or break your flare. So before I understood mindset and all of that, emotionally, I would spiral because I would think, gosh, here I am trying to do something good for my body and nothing works. And then you go into that never kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So it never works. It always makes me flare. Nothing's ever going to work. I might as well just eat the cake and sit on the couch and roll because I can't do anything else.
Right.
So you really do, it causes a very big emotional spiral. You think something's wrong with you because your body's not responding the way other people's body
Yeah.
responds to things. And you think that something that it's never going to change, that it's just going to keep getting worse. So that's
You're
kind of
just
before.
eating.
After PSC3, when I started understanding mindset, when I had a flare, I could identify that spiral that started happening. So, for example, I've told this story, I think, before, when I was on vacation and I broke my little pinky toe. And I was hoping to use that vacation and the money I had walking all the time, getting my 10,000 steps to keep me going when I got home. But when I got home, I tried to walk and my foot was all swollen and it hurt too bad. And that's when I found out that it had broken. And here's the other thing: Hashimoto's makes your bones leach. If you have Hashimoto's, you probably have osteopenia or can move into osteoporosis because it does affect your bones. But anyway, so my old mindset would have, and this is the same thing that would happen in a flare, but it's just a very practical example. My old mindset would say, well, I never get to do anything that I want, or I never get to exercise, or whenever I have the momentum to exercise better, something like this happens. So I might as well just sit on the couch for the next 6 weeks. But new mindset happens, and this happens when I have a flare. New mindset is, well, what caused this? How can I support my body during this? And what can't I do? Right.
Right.
So if I'm having a flare day, no, I'm not going to be able to do a strength workout with 15-pound weights. It's just my body's not going to respond well to that. But I
Right.
can do stretching, and I can sit in the hot tub, and I can do maybe yoga or flexibility or things like that. So emotion wise has changed a lot doing this program for me. But that was a really good question.
That's huge. When you think that everything I'm doing doesn't work, and then you realize that I'm not, well, you are different by having an autoimmune disease. So you have some other things you need to consider. But you're right, getting that mindset right is what helps us, and being able to not be a victim anymore and figuring out the solution.
Yes, that is exactly it. You don't have to be a victim for this, and there are solutions for you,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I love how you said that, Alane. Thanks.
But that can be hard too, because you physically hurt and it's hard. So it's very easy for us to fall into that mentality.
It is. And that's one of the beauties of going through a program where you have a
Yes.
coach who can help you identify those mindsets so
Yeah.
that you can start to learn to identify them yourself and have a plan for those days. So another thing that I do is I have a plan. I have an ideal day, and then I have a flare day plan. So, or if I'm feeling low energy, I have a plan that still moves me forward, doesn't stop me, but gives me the grace to know I can't finish the 100 things that were on my feeling good day task. I can maybe finish the 10 things that are on my flare day task.
So what I'm hearing, Alane, is that just because you're having a flare, your rules don't disappear, but you are adjusting them. So you're still showing up and serving your body in a really positive way, but you're not overdoing it on those days when it's just not possible. Am I hearing that correct?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Your body still
Nice.
needs nourishment. It still needs movement. It still needs rest and support, but you just need to be a little gentler. You have more grace on these days, and you need
Yeah.
to find ways to support your body rather than punish it. You don't need to punish yourself for not feeling good. You can
Right.
help support it. You can listen to the clues it's giving you. You can lower your load, figure out what has to be done and what can wait till tomorrow. And then choosing what helps your body feel safe, whether it's a cup of chamomile tea or a nap or a bowl of soup that doesn't have gluten in it. So if I make a chicken noodle soup, I don't make noodles. I put chicken and vegetables in so that I get all the things that my body needs, but in an easier way.
Great. Now you talk about you have your ideal day, and for those who've been through coaching understands what that is, and you have your flare day. What are those things that are the same though? What are those on those days are non-negotiable?
Oh my gosh, I love that because that's key for continuing to move your body forward, right? So on a flare day, I allow myself to sleep a little bit more. If I wake up and everything is hurting, I will set another alarm for 1 more hour because those little 10-minute snoozes, they don't give you any support. But I'm like, I can't wake up. It's really hard to wake up. I'm going to give myself another hour. And so normally that might cause you stress or crunch your daytime, but I know that I have a plan in place, right? So then my next non-negotiables is to get up and I always drink an electrolyte water first thing in the morning when I'm having a flare because I feel like it will support my body getting the hydration. And then I always take my supplements, and then I always have a good breakfast. Now, a breakfast on a flare day might be something that's easier to digest, like a protein shake or scrambled egg whites rather than something heavier. So, and then I always still do my morning time. So I spend some time with a devotional, I spend time learning, and maybe this gets to be a little bit longer because I'm moving slowly and I'm not going to demand so much of myself today. So I can maybe have a little bit longer. So I always do some kind of morning time. And then the biggest thing is just making sure that I fuel my body every 3 to 4 hours with cooked foods because raw foods are harder for your body to digest. And so if you give them cooked foods, then your body's still getting what it needs, but it doesn't have to work as hard.
That's a really great point. I didn't even think about that. So can you expand a little bit more on, because I know when I'm sick, I tend to lose my appetite. So what does fueling your body every 3 to 4 hours what does that look like when your appetite's really low? Because we know
and
that
your energy
fuel
is low, right? So
exactly,
you don't want to get up and go to the kitchen to cook something. So actually what I started doing is on days that I feel good, when I'm cooking a really dense, nourishing meal, I always make extras and put it in the freezer. So that when I have that flare day, and I put it in small servings. So if I make a soup, I have this little thing that does 1 cup frozen, and it will freeze soup in that. And then I'll freeze it and then put it in bags. So I always have things in the freezer that I can just heat up that are strong, nourishing, because the temptation is to eat toast with butter and cinnamon and sugar because it feels good. It sounds good. It's comforting.
When I was a kid.
Right. But what does that do for you? It does nothing for
Nothing.
you. It's just all carbs.
Raises your blood sugar.
And the sugar and all of that are inflammatory.
Absolutely.
So I lean heavily on soups and stews and things like that I can just pull out of the freezer and heat up.
That makes a lot
Which all of
sense.
us can do, either whether we're sick or not.
That's a great tip for any day.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So how do you know, Alane, when to push and when to protect yourself?
That's a great question.
And that's a fine line. It's a very fine balance that you strive for when you're sick and having a flare, right? Because you need to support and nourish your body, but you don't want to, I call it stay on the couch. It's going to be a couch day. I'm working from the couch because it just feels better to lounge than to sit.
Right.
But you don't want to stay on the couch for so long that you lose progress or you lose that momentum that you build, right? So you don't want to use your health as an excuse not to do anything. And then you have to remember that your body does what it's comfortable doing. And when you're in a flare, your body thinks a flare is normal, right? And so I think that this is where mindset comes in more than anything. So your job is to support it in healing so you can move more quickly and get back to improving your overall health. So the way that I've learned to do that is to just really assess every day. I actually have an app. Some, like the Aura Ring, will do this too, but I have an app on my watch that tells me what my recovery is based on my heart rate variability and my breathing and my sleep and all of that stuff. And I don't let it rule what I do and don't do during the day, but I let it confirm what I'm thinking. I can wake up and I know whether it's going to be a high energy day or a low energy day. But then I look at that app and it's like, your recovery was 10%. So maybe you shouldn't do a lot today. And that's actually helped me get out of that spiral of, well, maybe I don't feel good today. Because it will tell me as I'm healing, and I can watch as my body is recovering better each day. So it's just, I think it's paying attention. And then when you feel like, I always try to walk as soon as I can. If I'm having trouble moving, I even still try to take a walk because I feel like it lubricates your joints and get your blood flowing so that you can clean out the inflammation. And so I'll try to walk. Maybe that's one of my non-negotiables, Elaine, is I'll walk on one of those days. So I'll take a walk, but I'll really gauge with how my energy is during that walk. So in my mind, I think I'll just walk down to the end of the street and back. But if I'm at the end of the street and I'm feeling good, I'll try to walk more. So I always try to push myself a little bit and not let myself get lost in that downward spiral. Does that answer your question?
It does. So part of it is talking about your glucose work, grit and grace as well. Exactly. So it sounds like it's knowing when to give yourself grace. So what does grace look like without giving up?
So grace looks like being okay with getting less done, if that makes sense. Yes. Because I'm like a recovering perfectionist, I used to believe that even when I had a flare day, I still had to do everything. And so grace is saying, you know what? I can't move this morning. And so an extra hour of sleep is better for me than cleaning up the kitchen. So, but you can't indulge yourself either. So that's why I'm saying it's a fine line, right? So grace, I think grace comes in with being able to read your body, read your emotions, and gauge how you're feeling, and giving yourself the grace to have a rest day. But also grit comes right along with it, because you have to also not let yourself have 12 rest days in a row, and then all of a sudden you're back at square zero for every day. So it's a fine line.
Well, and I also think that there are definitely two sides of the pendulum shift. I think sometimes we will take those 12 days off, but I also know, especially as women, we don't have time to be sick. And so that idea of, I'm just going to power through it, I'm fine, I'm strong, blah. But what are the real dangers of trying to power through an illness when really your body is saying, oh my God, we just need to breathe?
Exactly. I think I'm so glad you brought that up, Amber, because we are, as women, we're like that. We're just like, I love how you said that. I don't have time to be sick. Cannot tell you how many times I used to say that. So
I do too.
Right. But I think you're really doing your body a disservice, because it messes with your metabolism. Because when you are sick, your stress is high. And when your stress is high, you release a bunch of cortisol, and cortisol holds on to fat. Your body thinks it becomes a perpetual flight or fight pattern that your body's in. So you're always intense. And so that raises your blood sugar. And then it causes reactive crashes, which causes you to binge. And all of that is very bad for your body. Your body's like, what are you doing to me? Are you going to starve me? Are you feeding me? I don't know. And so I don't know what to do. Also, I think it weakens you. It makes the sickness hold on longer, because you're not giving your body the rest that it needs to be able to heal you, right? And so sleep is how your body heals. And so if you're still pushing through and you're still staying up till 2 and getting up at 6 in the morning and just saying, oh, I'll just have some orange juice to get my vitamin C and that'll be fine, your body will not be able to recover. And then it will just continually get sicker and sicker until you can't get out of bed. So I think that's the danger.
Makes a lot of sense.
So really, we talked about a lot of things today. I think that people have gotten maybe tips or some ideas. But here's the thing. You don't need a perfect plan when you're sick. you need a smaller one. You need that one. You really need to hold on to that 1%. What's the 1% that I can do? So I kind of to have a conversation with the two of you about some of those ways that we can get that 1% perspective here. So you guys, knowing what you do about menopause and being sick and fighting through things, if somebody is listening to this and they're having a flare or they're feeling sick, what do you think is a good 1% action they can take?
I can start with that. I think one of the things is just stay true. Now, you may not eat, I don't know, I'm trying to think something that's spicy or something for your proteins or something like that. But that doesn't mean you can't eat a balanced meal. Mm-hmm. So your 1%, like you said earlier, might be fixing some eggs or something that your stomach might be able to tolerate. But 1% is still staying with that balanced meal is really going to help you actually, because you're feeding everything that your body needs by keeping balanced. So I guess that's kind of the one thing for me. If someone is not feeling well or sick, or one of my clients will contact me and say, hey, I'm really not doing well today. What should I do? Have some tea. Stick with your PFC3s. Try to eat every 3 hours. Maybe it's going to be something smaller because your stomach can't tolerate it. A lot of times when we're sick, this really sounds bad. When I used to get sick, for some reason, I wanted Taco Bell. All right. Now, I'm not saying Taco Bell is off limits, but when I'm sick, that probably wasn't the best option.
Yeah.
Why my body craved it, who knows? Today, I know that I'm probably going to have a warm tea. I'm going to have maybe some soft scrambled eggs with a bit of fat and some maybe some vegetables in it, very light vegetables, and I'm going to have some berries probably with it.
Great.
So that's a balanced meal. It may be something that I would eat on a normal day. Maybe I can't eat it all, but that's okay. At least I'm getting something in.
And when you're feeding your body that way, then your body doesn't have to try to balance your metabolism, and it can pay attention to healing you.
Right. It can put those resources someplace else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Another question. How can we redefine success for ourselves and for our health during illness?
You know what? I'd like to take that one because I think it goes down to what society says our definition of success is. I think that as a society, we measure success by how many things I could check off my list. And if I didn't check enough things off my list, I didn't have a successful day. Right. And personally, I think it maybe should be redefined for every day, not just sickness. But I would say, especially when you are having a flare or you're going through an illness, you may not be able to do all the things, but success could very easily be measured by intentionality. Was I making sure that I gave my body the nutrients? Was I making sure that I drank water? Was I making sure that if I woke up and I was still sleepy, that I gave myself an extra hour to sleep? And that intentionality, I believe, is more important in showing up for yourself than how many things you can check off your list.
Yes.
Yeah, and supporting your body. And I'm really glad you mentioned hydration because that's something really important to do. And you can do that through water, electrolyte water, or like bone is very healing and supportive for your body.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest thing that each of you have learned today about autoimmune disease?
I think for me, it's stay the course in a lot of ways. Now, it may look smaller. You mentioned earlier, Alane, about your morning time. So if we're not feeling well in the day, don't expect your day to be full of 900 tasks that you're going to finish that day.
Right.
So in your morning time, when you're planning your day, account for how you feel. And that's what we teach when we do our morning time. What am I going to do today? If I'm having a flare, or if the person's having a flare or sick, I need to account for that and be realistic about what I can do.
I love that.
So,
well, and for me, it's knowing when I'm sick, powering through while my default mode is not the best use of intentionality for my body. And using the is me choosing to be intentional. And the grace is knowing that today it's going to look different because I am sick, but I need to be able to give my body that time to heal. I think
I
that's
love
really
that.
what I'm taking away from it. So
I
thank you.
love that. I think that's a great place to end because that's like probably up everything that we were trying to convey today. So, as you walk away today, as you finish listening to this, remember that illness, chronic disease, a flare, it does not erase your progress. It doesn't mean that you have failed. It doesn't mean that your body is broken or that you have to start over. It's just information. So flares and illness happens. It's all part of living, but they don't have to define you and they do not have to derail you. With care and attention, you can feel better faster and just listen to your body and give your body what it needs. When you eat every 3 to 4 hours, even if they're small meals, when you fuel gently, your blood sugar steady, and then your body can use those resources that it has to help heal you better. So fuel gently, rest intentionally, and meet your body with both that grit and grace that Amber mentioned. And remember that just doing that is moving forward, even when it doesn't feel like it. Support your body with what it needs so it can heal faster. And eventually, like me, maybe you'll have fewer flares. So that's what happened to me. And that's now why I coach. So remember, living well is not about being perfect. It's about staying connected to your body through every season, especially the hard ones. That's all the time we have for today. Remember to share and like our podcast. If you know somebody who is going through chronic disease or an illness or or just lives with autoimmune disease, please share this with them because they will find some helpful information out of it. Remember to ask all your questions in the comments. We love to answer those, and you might hear a segment about one of your questions or in the future. So until next week, we wanted to say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.